Welcome into another edition of the Leadership Library, hosted by CEO and author Rocky Romanella. Rocky is the author of the book Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership, and has over 40 years of business experience as a prominent member of the UPS Supply Chain Solutions team, as well as the CEO of Unitech Global Services. So sit back, grab your notebook, and take a seat, and get ready for this edition of the Leadership Library.
Hey, I know in our last episode, well, good morning. See that? Look at this. I got so excited. I was jumping right into an episode here. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Welcome to the Leadership Library. I'm your host, Rocky Romanella. You know, in one of our previous episodes, we talked about the obvious is not always the obvious. Well, let me just finish up that thought with this. The other thing my dad told me that wasn't very obvious to me then, when I was a teenager at the time, was, he said to me, hey, look, it's what you do when no one's watching that counts. And I looked at him, I go, hey, Dad, that's the best part. Nobody's watching. You know, it's kind of like you ruined it when you tell me, someone's watching. But then he said to me something that stuck with me, and I've always thought about it, and that's that there's always two people watching. And he said, as he said, the man upstairs, but he said it's always the person looking in the mirror. And so from that moment forward, I thought about that. I always have to look in the mirror and feel good about what I accomplished for that day. I may not have always accomplished everything I tried to. I may have actually failed for that day. I may have went 0 for 4 if I was in a sport, or it may have been that I attempted to implement this new plan, but it didn't work. I may have had a rough day, may have had an accident. Whatever it was, it may not have been the best of all days, but I gave it everything I could. I never left anything on the table. And so for him, that was his thought of, it's what you do when no one's watching that counts. Now, I know we talked about this in integrity and how that's so important, but it's also in your personal integrity of how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself. What's your brand? What are the things that you do that separate you from everybody else? And it's what you do when no one's watching that counts, because at the end of the day, there's always at least that one person watching, and that's you. And you put your head on a pillow at night knowing that you did the best job you could, even though it may not have fulfilled or accomplished all the things you wanted. And I think sometimes we get caught up on what other people are doing or how other people are doing it. And I had a nun in 5th grade who told me once that it's not where you are relative to everyone else. It's where you are from where you started. And if you think about that, it means so much, right? Because you may have come a long way. I remember my son, Andrew, my youngest, and my father used to have this discussion all the time. You know, we moved quite a bit when I was at UPS, and Andrew would talk about, Grandpa, I moved. I was in a new school like every year for like 5 or 6 years. And my father said, well, yeah, but Andrew, I came to the United States. I couldn't speak English. I was 14, and they put me in kindergarten to learn the language. And Andrew goes, I know, but Grandpa, you only moved one time. And so they would go back and forth in a playful way, and they had such a wonderful relationship. But if you think about it, it's where you are from where you started. And from where he started to where he ended up, he, to me, was an amazing person. But it was all those things he did when no one was watching that was so important. And that's really the last part of the obvious lessons that weren't always obvious to me as I was growing up, and that's that it's those things that you do. It's the things that you do because they're the right things to do. They're the extra time you take if you're in a sport or you're in anything else that you do, that you work hard, you practice, you read up on, you try to make yourself the best version of yourself that you can be. You kind of push yourself outside your comfort zone by trying to do things that you didn't think you could do, but you want to try to do. It's those things that you do when no one's watching that counts. Wasn't very obvious to me then, but today it makes all the difference in the world. So I leave you with this. It's what you do when no one's watching that counts. You're always the person watching. Have a great day. Be safe. And thanks for listening to the Leadership Library.